Live from Julian's basement, it's podcadzo. You give us an hour, and we'll give you the world. The world consisting primarily of YouTube references and Steely Dan trivia.
I just love that podcast.
It's podcadzo.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another week of podcadzo. Now, full transparency, we're recording this directly after we recorded episode 100. Well, not directly after, but this is the first episode back since episode 100. First episode back since our little hiatus. We think this is going to be a banked episode. We don't know exactly where we're going to put it in the lineup. So, it's a little bit hard to kick this one off exactly with, with an introduction.
I think you're just putting up mental blocks in your own head.
I am.
You're overthinking this.
I'm overthinking a bit. I want the new podcadzo to be a little bit more structured, and that's why I'm overthinking it. But I will start off by saying, welcome back to podcadzo, the official companion podcast to the well-known indie rock band Kadzo.
And here's the funny story about this whole structure thing. When we first kicked off this podcast, we were like, we want to have structure and ideas and a plan. And then we did that for a bit, and we were like, fuck that.
Yeah.
We want to do no plan and no structure. And then we were like, fuck that. We want plan and structure. So now we're kind of coming full circle, I guess, but not really full circle.
Not really full circle. And we're
still trying new things.
It's going to fall apart immediately, too.
Well, possibly. I think at the end of the day, as long as the podcast is serving us in some way,
yeah,
that's all that matters.
Yeah, for sure. If
it becomes work, then we should probably stop.
Yeah. Well, the reason I wanted to structure it a little bit more is because I feel like if we can automate it more, it becomes a little bit less work.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying earlier about having a little more structure. Like if we know the segments to plan out, if we kind of follow the same structure every week, that makes the editing easier for me.
Oh yeah.
It makes, we don't have to plan so much out. We just know, hey, we're going to talk about this, have a little interview with a guest.
The thing probably a bit more listenable too than just two dudes fucking rambling about whatever the fuck comes to their mind, which is entertaining, but maybe not all the time for everybody.
Yeah, my thing is there's just so many like low effort podcasts out there, which, okay, I'm torn.
This is still going to be low effort at the end of the day.
Let's be honest, having a podcast is, the common consensus is having a podcast is stupid. Everyone has a podcast. I disagree with that. I'm on the record on this podcast saying I think everyone should have a podcast. I think it's a fun thing to do as long as you're not a douchebag about it, as long as you're doing something slightly original with your podcast. I think it's cool to have one.
I don't even think it has to be slightly original. I think you just have to enjoy doing it.
Yeah, definitely. But don't hop on the same tropes as everybody else. Don't shove it down everyone's throat with like annoying clips like people tend to do. That's what really drives people crazy. So because there is that consensus, I've been torn in the past. I'm like, does it make having a podcast worse if we like obviously put a lot of effort into it? Because if we don't put effort into it, you can kind of brush it off. It's like, yeah, we have a podcast, but it's just this fun little thing we do. We barely try, check it out.
Which is what I exclusively do when I'm telling people about it. I'm like, it's just for fun.
Yeah.
It's not serious. We don't actually try.
Well, and part of that is like kind of like a disclaimer to promote the band too, or not a disclaimer, but like kind of shrugging it off to be like the band is more important. Like Julie and I are in a band. We show up early for practice. We do this podcast thing. It's fun. We enjoy it. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, I think it kind of actually makes it worse if you're just like really low effort. It's like, well, if you're going to have a podcast, go for it. Like, having a podcast and not trying, that's even cringier.
Yeah, I think we always try to make it entertaining. We never didn't care. It's not like we didn't give a shit if it was good to listen to or not. We always cared about that. It was more low effort in the sense that we didn't have, like, prepared materials. We didn't always have, like, an exact roadmap of where the episode was going to go.
Exactly.
Whereas most podcasts definitely do have that. Like, especially these days, I would say podcasts are structured like format TV episodes where it's like, okay, here's the news segment, Here's the promo segment. Here's
do you
the
think
guest
that's true?
segment.
Most of the podcasts I
feel
listen
like-
to are just off the cuff completely. And
Well, you have both extremes of it. You have like What the Fuck with Mark Maron, where it's just a dude rambling, which is great. Definitely, I think my favorite podcast. And then you have podcasts where there is definitely a plan. I think sometimes the plan might get slightly overtaken by the heat of the moment, but like I would argue most episodes or most podcasts that are popular these days go into it with some kind of pre-conceptualized structure of like the first segment is going to be like roughly this long. We'll talk about roughly these things. And then the second segment, it's roughly this long. And then the interview segment happens here and it's roughly this long. Like most people's podcast episodes are like the exact same length every week. Like we were talking about Tiger Belly. All his episodes are like an hour 26. Like the fucking Santino pod that they do together is like every episode's like an hour and 3 minutes.
the bad friends one.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. They're just always very much formatted the same, like the way that TV kind of is, I feel like.
Yeah.
But that being said, that's what keeps people coming back is like they know exactly what they're going to get every week to a certain extent.
I think so. I feel like Come Town was kind of the first like super low effort pod. And those guys are so funny and it was so well executed as a low effort pod that the fact that they put so much effort into it made it funnier, enhanced it, and they could pull it off. Oh, I just saw a mouse run across your floor over there.
Really?
Yeah. Anyways,
Fucker. Well, there's mouse traps everywhere down here.
Yeah. It's fine. It's gonna happen.
It's that time of the year, bro. I mean,
it's getting colder.
we get
come
like
inside.
probably 1 or 2 a week out here. I got traps fucking everywhere.
Yeah. How often are you checking the traps?
Daily.
Daily?
Yeah.
Okay. Did I ever tell you that story where it was pretty gross? Set out a trap and forgot about it like a month later. Oh, the smell. It was horrible.
Yeah, that's brutal. Yeah, no, I mean, out here, for those who need some context, I kind of live out in the back country a little bit. And it gets real cold out here. And the mice, I would guess there's probably like 10 times more mice out here in the fields than there would be like in your average city neighborhood. Like, they're fucking everywhere. You'll just be outside chilling and you'll just see them like scurrying around.
Yeah.
So yeah, they come in here and then they fucking, I don't know. The thing is they like hide in weird places, but they never like leave a trail down here specifically. It's always upstairs, like under the sink, in the laundry room, obviously where the trash is. But down here, like I've had the same traps out for like over a year and there hasn't been a mouse in any of them. But then yeah, you'll see a fucker randomly just scurry, probably into a hole in the wall and then upstairs somewhere.
I had a mouse problem in my place when we first moved in for about 3 months. And that's why I set that trap out that I forgot about. And I haven't had any mice since then.
Nice.
And I've been in this house for like 4 years now.
Nice. Yeah, that's good. It's only like fall and then sometimes a little bit of spring out here. Once the winter comes around, they like fuck off completely. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So anyways, we were talking about podcasts, but we can talk about something else. It's not that interesting. So like I said at the start, this is the first episode we've recorded since episode 100. We've been on a little bit of a break. So part of the reason we're recording today is just, we have a slightly different setup. We're testing some stuff out. We're knocking the rust off for upcoming episodes that will likely come out before this one so that we're feeling good. We're back at it. We have our rapport back and forth because we have lost our rapport. I can barely look you in the eyes anymore.
This is what I was afraid of.
Yeah.
The only thing that was keeping this friendship together was the podcasting, and then we stopped. So then you had
And
time
I feel
to question things.
Yeah. I watched a couple episodes from the first 100 we did. I was like, what the fuck are we doing? No, I'm just joking, of course. I'm very proud of this podcast.
I was definitely very worried that you would think that.
Saying yes? No way, dude.
Well, no, that after like the 100th, you're like, let's take a couple weeks off, and then that
and then we
couple
just
weeks
never
would just
come
turn
back to it.
into us being on permanent hiatus.
No, I've missed it a lot. And like the last couple weeks, we've still been rehearsing, obviously. And Julian and I are just here like, what do we do if we're not going to record
yeah,
the
you
pod?
still come over at
I
like
still
the
come
same
over,
time.
And I just spent an unnecessary amount of time setting up stuff for rehearsal. Like I mic everything, put cameras all around the place. As has been talked about on this podcast, I love setting up technology. I love plugging wires in.
You love also just fidgeting with stuff.
I love fidgeting.
Set something up, make sure it's all good. It is all good, and then you're like, I could still do something to make this different somehow. And then doing that like 10 more times, which, hey, I like it. I respect the hustle. I think it's cool. I guess it's cool. I don't know. The more I think about it, the less cool it seems.
Yeah, it's really not that cool. Yeah, that's why I can't, like, I just have to stay distracted all the time, shut down any introspection, because as soon as I start thinking about my personality, how I spend my time, I spiral quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Like, God, I'm such a fucking loser.
I'm such a piece of shit.
But if you stay distracted, if you're just always fidgeting, just looking for new things to buy, always, setting up new enterprises.
Filling the hole with items is definitely a key thing. There's a hole there. Fill it up with stuff.
Well, the shame of it all is that retail therapy actually works. I have my
100%.
own thoughts on capitalism and all that. Julian and I are cool kids. We've all posted our late stage capitalism memes like everybody else has. But at the end of the day, buying stuff feels really good, and it's easier than looking inward and going to therapy.
It's the best kind of instant gratification.
Yeah.
Just being like, I have this new thing, and it is awesome, and I love it. And there's nothing that's ever going to beat that feeling until you get the next new thing.
So you get the next new thing.
Yeah.
Totally. So we can take this a couple different directions. I think we're going to talk about some new music that has come out in the interim since our last episode. Because a lot of good music, that's been the real shame of being on hiatus. Well, one, I've missed talking to you.
Oh, sure.
Two, we don't know what to do before practice. And three, our timing was bad because a lot of cool shit has been happening.
Yeah.
And good music has been coming out.
In one of the last episodes we did before the hiatus, I very specifically said that all the new music this year has been kind of disappointing and shitty to me. But then a bunch of albums came out immediately after that I fucking loved.
Totally. We're in a little hot streak right now.
I would say so.
It's been the most active and best time of the year for new music. So we'll catch up on that. But yeah, let's talk about some life events, some Cadzo events since episode 100. First,
I think it's safe to say, especially since this probably isn't going to be the first episode out, we have new music out at this point.
Yep, that's what I was going to mention, and a video.
Yes.
Out at this point,
even braver.
Our first music video.
Yes.
So the song, the release is "Bored with the Melody." That's a single, and then there's a B-side, which you named. It's called
inadvertently I named
One
it.
Time for No More Fun Time. How'd you come up with that? I've been wanting to ask you.
Well, okay, so it sounds kind of dumb to say it out loud.
No, it doesn't. I like it.
It's a very, not the title itself, but I guess the reason why I thought of the title. It's a very fun song to listen to. There's no lyrics. So it's not like the typical Cadzo song where it's like kind of an upbeat track, but then you listen to the lyrics and you're like, I hope this guy's okay. You can kind of decide if it's like actually an uppity song or actually a depressing song or whatever, because it's just an instrumental track. But for me, it's a very like light, fun song to listen to. It gets kind of dark and scary in the middle. Not even scary. It just gets a little darker and a little bit more like kind of weird for our typical Cadzo sound in the middle. And then it kind of resolves on like the uppity, fun thing that we usually do in our tracks. But at the end of the day, I was listening to it at some point a couple weeks ago when you sent out the final master during just like a really bad news day. And it kind of was like, for me, it was like a good like soundtrack of like one last hurrah before the world falls apart. Like almost an ode to when we did have happiness, an ode to when life wasn't a constant I guess gamble of are we going to be okay tomorrow. So it's an ode to like one more party before the world ends.
That's what I assumed you meant by the title. I wasn't sure. But as soon as I read it, I was like, that's perfect. That sounds great. We were I was proposing we literally just call it, like, the working title this whole time has been Bored B-side, because we knew it was going to be the B-side to Bored with the Melody. And I was thinking, like, oh, let's just be kind of meta, kind of,
call it
break the fourth
B-side.
wall and be like, Bored B-side. You then proposed the title Michael Keaton.
Yes, which there's more to it than just wanting to call it Michael Keaton.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if
Do
you
you wanna
really want to
elaborate
go
on-
there or not. I feel like if anyone should, it should be you.
Let's not.
Okay.
And then, is it just because we've been using actor code names?
Yeah,
Is that
pretty
what you
much.
meant?
It was like trying to go along with that trend that we've been doing, but that's only a placeholder trend. It was never meant to be like...
For the listener, at this moment in time, we are writing the second Cadzo LP, and the placeholder names for all the songs have been the names of male actors. So that's where the Michael
I would
Keaton thing
personally
came in.
say and this is like just my personal opinion, the actual single Bored with the Melody, in my opinion, is like a really good indicator and like kind of, it's a good palate cleanser from LP1, but it's also a good kind of like cue without being like a spoiler of where LP2 is going, I guess, if that makes sense. I would say LP2 in general is a lot different from LP1 in a lot of like kind of somewhat crucial ways to the songs, but Bored is like a really good insight into that without being like a spoiler. And then the B-side to me is like kind of like the opposite. It's like not really like too many of the other tracks on the record. And I don't know if it's a spoiler. It's not going to be on the record. It's actually just a
an
B-side.
actual B-side.
But that to me was also a fun like counterpoint of like Bored is very album-esque, and the B-side is very much just its own thing, like a true, I guess, just like timestamp of what the band was fucking around with at the time of coming up with LP2.
It really is its own thing, but you mentioned that kind of darker middle section. In a lot of ways, that's like my favorite 15 seconds of music we've ever recorded. Mm-hmm. If you played me that a year ago, been like, this is what you guys are going to write one day. I'd be like, I don't even know how we would start with that. Like, how do you start writing something?
Yeah.
It sounds so cool. Will plays arpeggi on it, which by this point, we'll probably have talked about the arpeggi on the podcast, maybe. But it's a crazy instrument that Will's been learning that he wanted to play on the new track. And we go into a 7/4 time signature, first Cadzo song to not be 4/4. And I'll say this, only Cadzo song ever that's not going to be 4/4. And it's that middle's, I'm very proud of that piece of music.
I think it's cool because, okay, so like, it wasn't necessarily like it wasn't like a shared vision that we all had coming into LP2, but I think me and Benson kind of both independently had this desire of wanting to do odd time stuff, or not even odd time stuff, but just stuff that doesn't feel inherently in just like a common 4/4.
Was it your guys' idea to go into? I don't even remember writing the B-side.
I think what happened was, and I think, again, I could be wrong about this too, but me and Benson had both kind of independently had this idea of wanting to do mixed meter, and I had been listening to a shitload of Primus and Chon, so I wanted to do like extreme prog drumming. Mm-hmm. And Benson had been kind of getting into some 70s prog because of the arpeggi shit that he was learning.
And he's been doing a ton of math rock.
And math rock too.
Yeah.
Like Midwest emo and stuff like that. And so I think at one point in a practice or a writing session, I should say, me and Benson kind of both were like, it was like one of us mentioned, I want to do more odd time. And then the other was like, oh, I've also been wanting to do more odd time. And then you were like, oh, cool. What about this? And then you just immediately played that riff in 7.
Oh, okay.
Like you just played it like right away. And me and Benson were just like, that's fucking sick. And then we jammed on it and it turned out to be that part of that song. But we didn't know at that point that it was going to be a B-side non-album track. It was just like a jam. Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of where it stayed. Like most of the time, especially because it was LP1, it was like every idea that we had to turn into like a full-blown song for the record. But now it's kind of like not everything necessarily has to be visualized as a full-blown album track.
I remember, so we were kind of like starting to write material for the second album, and I was looking through old stuff, and I found a folder on my Google Drive called Song Ideas. And you can tell from the video that I was just so high when I recorded this little video, but it was the riff for Bored with the Melody. I forget ever writing that recording. Or sorry, not Bored with the Melody, the B-side.
Oh, okay.
One time for No More Fun Time. That's it. I don't remember writing Bored with the Melody either. I don't like. We've been working on that track for a while. I don't really.
I feel like it was another one of those. It was just one of those spontaneous things of like we were in the room and you're just like, I have this idea, and you just played it. Obviously, not the whole thing. Like you didn't have the whole song yet, but you had like the main riff, and you had like maybe
you're right. You're bringing
maybe
memories.
the like bridge riff.
Yeah.
Then we just worked it out in the room together, which. I don't know, like most bands, I feel like personally most bands, what they do, right? Their frontman or whoever their lead songwriter is, or if it's a couple, they come into the room with a fully fleshed out idea and everyone just essentially adds to that idea. They make suggestions, whatever. But like this, with this album cycle for us, I feel like almost all the tracks they started from one idea or two ideas and then were just fleshed out in the room with everybody. And obviously, like, every time you bring up an idea to Benson, he has like 20 ideas. He's like, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this.
Well, he just immediately plays the right thing. Which is
yeah.
the genius
and he has
of Will.
Different versions of where the song could go. We could go this way and it could be heavier. We could go this way, it could be mathier. We could go this way, it could be prettier. Like, he just contributes a lot in that way, which I think a lot of other, not to say that Kadzo's like a fantastic band and we write fantastic music, but like a lot of other bands miss out on that opportunity to
we're a good fucking
further
band,
their spectrum.
And we do write good music.
We do, but we utilize collaboration, I think, a lot more than
we do.
Traditional
and
bands.
And that's what's feeling so good. It's not that we didn't collaborate on P1.
It was still very collaborative.
It was very collaborative, but I did have, and part of the reason was just because that was our first album. I had a lot of song ideas that were like more fleshed out. It was still, we were writing a lot of it in the room together. But with this album,
at the beginning of it, there really were like no genuine ideas of like, this needs to be on LP
2 months. It was just, we were showing up and be like, I think I have a new riff, and we'd kind of jam it out, put it up on the board, assign an actor's name to it.
Yep.
And go from there. And it's been feeling so good writing the album this way. I'm really stoked for a lot of these songs.
I do think it's way more, not to say that obviously LP1 was like derivative or like basic in any way, because I don't think it is, but I think this album is a lot more honed in on something very unique in the indie scene, like something we're trying to channel something that most indie bands aren't thinking about right now.
I'm willing to say it, not to sound arrogant, but Kadzo does have our own sound that we've honed, and I'm proud of it. And a lot of indie bands will say that, but they're fucking lying, and they sound like every other indie band. They don't have anything special. Kadzo, I really think we do have something special. I'm proud of all of LP1, but I really think we found our stride with Guinevere and Trevor. That's how I feel about it.
I also feel that, but I feel that about the title track in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like the title track came towards the end, and I think it is the most meaningful and the most like profound track.
Those three songs are kind of the foundation of what we're building the new album off of.
And I don't think we ever fully told the story. Well, maybe we did. I could be wrong. I don't think we told the full story of New Afternoons on the pod ever. But essentially,
but New Afternoons is in there too. I'm proud of that song.
It was a track that we had in a previous band together that, was it still called New Afternoons? I don't even remember if it was called
we did call it New Afternoons.
But
because it's technically a cover. To avoid any issues with
Sure.
previous band members, I got a cover license.
It's
even though I wrote the whole song.
Yeah.
I'm covering my own song.
Covering your own ass.
Yeah, and covering my own ass.
At the end of the day, though, that song was a good, perspective shifter for me, because it took a song that I had always been a part of that never really felt fully mine, and it really gave me the opportunity to do a bunch of shit that I actually had been wanting to do like the whole time. And it took a song that was like kind of interesting, that had potential, and turned it into a song that was like fully realized. And to me, that opened a lot of doors as far as the performance that I wanted to have on LP2. Like LP1, I wanted to serve the tracks, and LP2, the vision has been a lot more of I want to serve my own aspirations as a drummer, as a performer.
Which you are, while also serving the tracks.
Right, and I think we're all doing that.
Definitely.
I think we all, like, I think even you could say Benson on LP1, his biggest thing was just, support the tracks. Do what the tracks need without stepping on anyone. And now with LP2, it's Benson is really just trying to see, like, what he can get away with, you know?
I think we're all idiosyncratic players. We all have our own thing, and that's what, when I say Cadzo has a sound, it's that we're all feeling confident enough to just really do our own thing. And we've played enough together that we know it works together.
That's the biggest part of it. And a lot of bands, and again, not to sound, full of ourselves or egotistical, a lot of bands get by on playing the same set for every show, practicing once a month or twice a month, and not ever pushing their back catalog into new places. And to me, this band has always been like the opposite of all those things. We always consistently change our set. I don't think we've ever played the same set twice in a row. We improvise within that set. From show to show, from practice to practice, things change. We have like an inherent confidence in our back catalog that most bands just frankly don't have. And I think that has led us to push each other more in our own individual roles, while also realizing what each of us, like what the bare minimum from each of us is, and where it gets to a point where it's like affecting someone else's ability to perform to their fullest. Yeah.
No, well said. I totally agree. So back to Bored with the Melody. That it was, after LP1, played a lot of shows. I was kind of winding down, and it was just feeling like time to start writing new songs. So I had a bunch of things I was working on, and you sparked my memory about writing it earlier. I do remember I was working on a different song, and then just kind of came up with the main riff for Bored with the Melody. I was like, oh, this could be something. And brought it to practice, and it just like kind of instantly came together. And so we really like laser focused on that one for a little bit.
And that's the other interesting thing about that track too. All the other songs, I would say, have taken us like at least a couple months to get to the point where they're just now feeling like almost completed. And Bored with the Melody was like 1 or 2 practices, and we're like, it's in the books.
Right, it's that one.
I was ready to track it after like a couple weeks. You already had it tracked after a couple weeks.
Yeah. And so that's why it kind of feels like a blur, and I'm having trouble remembering it. Because when did we actually... did we like track it back in May? Has it been that long?
I think we tracked it... Didn't we track it like 2 weeks before your bachelor party?
That was my point of reference, is I remember going on my bachelor party in May, and we were talking about the song then. So we've been sitting on it for a minute.
Yeah. I was still in a committed relationship.
Yeah. I was unmarried. Life was very different. It's crazy what 4 months will do.
Yeah. It's also crazy how, I mean, not to get like overly cheesy or stupid, but it's crazy how much that song, in hindsight, was like prophetic for what everyone was about to go through in the coming months.
Well, I think there's a reason for everything. It's for me personally, like I don't know why we've sat on it this long, but at this point in time, that song has never felt more relevant for me. I've never identified with the lyrics more.
Yeah.
And that's another weird thing about this. It's I have very vivid memories of every other Cadzo song. Like I don't remember writing the lyrics for Bored with the Melody. I barely remember tracking the lyrics.
I just remember it was one of... It might have had a male actor code name very briefly, but it had a title almost right away. And I remember seeing the title and being like, that's a really good
The only thing I remember
title.
from the song title is, at one point, I feel like we've taken it a different direction, but like when we were like early on in the writing process, the song was reminding me of Cousins by Vampire Weekend. And there's a line in Cousins there's codes in the melody. And I latched onto the word melody because it fit the main riff well. And yeah, I just changed it to bored with the melody and went from there. But yeah, outside, like, I think if I'm recalling correctly, did the lyrics on like an afternoon, tracked it that same afternoon. I was just kind of like, singing along to the track, writing my notepad, would sing a new verse, and just went from there.
I mean, if I remember correctly, I might not be remembering correctly, but the awoos and the chorus, those weren't in your initial. Those came after like a week or two.
Dude, you know what? We had drums tracked as early as like March of this year, because I remember flying to Miami, which I went to Miami in March, and listening to drum takes then.
Huh. I mean, shit. But we tracked the B-side a fair bit after that.
Yeah,
right?
we tracked the B-side a fair bit after.
Okay. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me, I guess. My drum part for that song specifically came pretty fast and didn't really change much after the initial couple jams.
I've spent a lot of time on it.
That was also when I was going through my big Primus kick, too, so it kind of lines up.
Yeah. And I did spend a lot of time with it, I guess, in between that Miami trip and the bachelor party, just kind of searching for new drum sounds. Because I did have that in the back of my head. I was like, this might be the first song we like finish off of the second LP. So we're kind of defining like sounds for the new album. So I did spend a fair bit of time with it.
We spent a lot of time talking about specifically snare sound and where I wanted to go with like the cymbals shit. And I think that I think we reached a good middle ground where everything sounds like kind of proggy and kind of out of pocket without being like obnoxious or stepping on something else.
Yeah. I remember vividly now being in the airport in March waiting to go to Miami, and I was about like 3 Guinnesses deep at the airport bar, and I was listening to the drum takes. I was like, we're on to something here. This is cool.
Well, and there are some tracks on LP2 that do go back that far or further than that, but they still didn't, I think, become fully realized until very recently.
Yeah.
So, and that's also, I would say, kind of a bit of a change from LP1, because I think LP1 in general, most of the stuff got fleshed out relatively quick after it got brought to the table. It was like, like Dark Park. We had that song done in like 2 practices. And like Boy on the Outside, and even like Masquerade, like all of those first singles that got released, they got released in such quick succession because we just were banging them out that quickly.
Yeah, and they got, like we've said before, they got released before we were even really a band. Like it was kind of just, that was our way of recovering from our last musical project. A way to carry the momentum forward. There was no plans around like Cadzo at that point.
There was no plan for an LP for sure. Yeah. There was no plan for
even, I didn't even know if we'd play live.
We didn't know if there was going to be, there wasn't a full-time lineup. There still arguably isn't a full-time lineup.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
To full-time
lineup.
Okay,
so let's not, I don't want to drop anything too ahead of the gun here, but I do want to mention we do have a new bass player on board with the melody.
Yeah.
And
huge shout out to Andrew Miller.
And that was kind of, again, an unplanned thing that I guess you could argue did push back the release of the track slightly, because we did have it done and ready to go. We were going to release it. We had everything besides like maybe artwork at that point, and it just happened to be when Drew came in to rehearse with us for some live shows, and we basically just said, or you said, hey man, we're gonna release this song. If you want to track bass, we would love you to, but also if you don't want to, like, that's fine. It's gonna get released either way.
Yeah. So Drew is an amazing musician. He's been a dude like, and shout out to Colin Galloway too. Colin's been filling on bass for a while. Colin, I guess, just ultimately got too busy with his other musical projects. Cadzo was,
Colin's in
he
a
was
lot of
always
bands.
just kind of filling in Cadzo. So we were looking for a new bass player. Drew was top of our list, but kind of because although we've been juicing ourselves up this episode, ultimately we have low opinions of ourselves. And we were saying, oh man, Drew would never be interested in playing with us. You reached out to him to see if he could fill in on
For
bass.
not the first time.
Yeah. Yeah, we've reached out to him
asked him
before. And the timing wasn't right. But we reached out to him, asked if he could fill in on a couple of gigs. He was into it. We sent him a list of songs. He showed up a week or 2 weeks later, had every single note for those songs down.
Everything was ready.
I sent him the demo track for Bored with the Melody. He came in, played a far better part than I had written on bass for Bored with the Melody. We played it in the room that night. It felt better than ever. And so I said, Drew, would you be willing to, like, that exact part you just played here in practice, would you mind laying that down on the track? So I showed up to Drew's house like a week later. We tracked it in his basement. I mixed it the next day, and that was the final cut, Bored with the Melody. And so huge shout out to Drew. We played a couple shows, I guess just one show with him so far.
It'll be two.
It'll be two by the
probably,
time this comes out.
Yeah. I would say, and this isn't to be disrespectful to Colin or anyone else that's played with Kadzo, helped us out in the past, but our live performance is, just that one show we played with Drew is probably the best we've ever sounded live.
That was the best I've ever felt on stage. Yeah.
I think just because, obviously, me and Drew have a pretty long and tenured musical history together. We've played together a lot. I think there's just a good mutual understanding of he knows what I'm going to do as a drummer, and I know what he's going to do as a bassist, which helps a lot. I think the other part of it is just, you meet these people, especially in the bass world, you meet these people who just don't approach the instrument as conventional bassists. And Drew has always been that to a T. Like, he writes the most interesting and thought out bass parts that I've ever heard, from anybody. There's Victor Wooten and shit like that. He's cool, but Drew makes Victor Wooten seem like a boring old fucking pussy. He just writes the coolest bass parts I've ever heard. And I always knew, and again, this is gonna make me sound very egotistical, I always knew if he would jam with us in the room once or twice that he would have a lot of fun and that he would want to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And so I'm just grateful that the stars finally aligned to where he was free long enough to do that one show with us. He sees that we take this shit super seriously and that we also want to just have fun doing our live shows, that it's not about putting on the best live show of all time or hustling as many tickets as possible or posting fucking bullshit on TikTok. It's just about having fun, and that's kind of, I think, what he wants out of a project too at this point, is just have some fun and lay back and jam it out.
And I think this is different than other bands he's played with in the past. So I think it's, I don't know if challenge is the right word, but it's something new for him. And until the last show we played with him, I've never felt more comfortable on stage. And again, huge shout out to Colin. But I think Colin would be the first to admit he's not really a bass player. I think that's the first band he's really played bass in. He's a great musician, so he has the knack for it. But yeah, he wasn't, he was filling in.
Yeah, the whole thing was very happenstance of we had a show. It was our first show. We didn't have a bass player. Colin just happened to be here hanging out, and Colin was like, I'll do it. And then, offering to help for that one show turned into offering to help for many shows. Yeah. Which I am super grateful for. I think playing with Colin is really, really fun, and Colin has an incredible amount of musical talent. But Colin is also one of the main songwriters in at least 2 other full-time projects that I know of. And that takes, I'm a very part-time songwriter in 1.5 bands, and that in itself is tiring. So just having someone who, again, in a way, can just knock out incredible, unique parts like it's nothing is pretty like helpful for us right now. Like
Most
having,
definitely.
being able to send a demo over to Drew and have Drew be able to put a solid amount of effort into it, but not too much to where it's like taking up all his free time and still turn in a solid end result it's always blown my mind. Like, I don't know, with Drew and same with Will Benson too, like usually their first instinct for parts is like the right one. Like
Yeah.
the first thing they come up with is what gets tracked on the record. For me, it's like the opposite. I try like 99 things and then usually go with some other thing that I just completely improvised on the spot. Like, you know, and it's good. It's good now after over a year of this, or more than a year, but a year consistently of having this be like a full-time project, to just have someone come in, understand the mission, and just knock out parts like super quick.
Yeah. And just I would feel, because Colin wouldn't practice with us all the time, you know, it'd be honestly kind of rare to get Colin for a rehearsal. So just the feeling of having someone holding it down on bass when we're playing, it feels so much better. And yeah, like you said, that last show we played with Drew was, I think, our best one yet. And yeah, I'm proud of us as a live band too. I think we've cut our teeth enough. I think we've got some skills when it comes to playing live.
I do think there's a lot of things we do as a live band. Again, I'm going to sound like an asshole when I say this. There's a lot of things that we do as a live band that other, especially local live bands right now specifically, wouldn't even think about doing. Like I said earlier, the best thing you can do right now as a local band is like play the same exact set every time and hope that it gets good enough to where someone notices that it's a good set, and then you get attention that way. What you don't want to do, or maybe not what you don't want to do, but what most people don't think about doing, is having a live show that varies dramatically from show to show, and also a live show that has various aspects of it completely unplanned and just left to what we feel like doing in the room. And both of those things make you so much more well-rounded as a live player, and they make you more connected to your band. And those are things that I've also never done in other bands before. Like my other full-time band, Foreign Words, not to say that we play the same set every time, but we don't vary our songs at all. The songs are always exactly the same. And we would never... It would cause utter internal chaos if we tried to vary the songs in any way. Whereas in Kadzo, it's almost like a dare of like, how can we play this in a way that we haven't played this before?
Yeah.
And how can we put the set together in a way that surprises like even us on stage?
For sure.
So, yeah.
What made me proud of the last set we played is more people came up to us afterwards getting the references for what Kadzo is. Like, shout out to Arthur S., who we played with last show, Arthur S. and the Effects. He came up to us after the set. I was like, are you guys fans of Future Heads? I was like, I'm a huge fan of Future Heads. That means a lot that you would think like we sound a little bit like Future Heads, or at least that was a reference for what Kadzo is.
Well, and even playing my mom the demo for Bored with the Melody, she was like, this gives me like Octung Baby
So
vibes.
that's when I knew, okay, Bored with Melody is the right song to put out, because after we put out LP1 up until tracking Bored with the Melody, I'm not kidding, the only thing I listened to was Octung Baby, Zooropa, and Blur's Modern Life is Rubbish. I'll say right now, those three albums are kind of the blueprint for me, for LP2, and for the new songs we're writing.
Sure.
And so the fact that your mom threw that out right away, it's like...
Zeropo
Damn.
is definitely heavy in my rotation as well. The thing that made me really stoked was I was playing the demo for a buddy of mine who is like a musician or whatever at work, and he said that my hi-hat and snare technique reminded him of Brown Album Primus.
Oh.
And I was like, fuck.
Okay.
Like I don't know if it's for better or for worse,
really
but we
nailed it
really
with this
channeled
one.
into our influences in a way that, you know, LP1, for me specifically, LP1 was almost, I wanted to be like devoid of all influence. I wanted to not take influence from anything or anyone. And LP2 is like, I have two very specific influences that don't play into this style of music at all, and that's why I want to like lean into that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it does.
you wouldn't think. I think listening to a Kadzo track, you'd never think, oh, the drummer's inspired by Primus, but the subtle things that we've done on the LP2 tracks, I think, have really shown that like we are taking very specific influence from certain things and applying it in very specific ways for like the betterment of our sound.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny getting compared to other artists. You always have to take it with a grain of salt because, like, you know, oftentimes a lot of people, they don't have the depth that we have. Not to sound pretentious or anything, but it's just true. You know, like, they don't go as deep on, like, rock music as we do.
The only people that talk about music this way are, and from my experience, other musicians.
So I remember, like, in previous projects, people would throw out Red Hot Chili Peppers all the time, and I'd get kind of down on that. Not, you know, Chili's are a great band. Be lucky to sound like Red Hot Chili Peppers, but
It's
it was
just
like
never
that's
been
just
in our
that's
universe
yeah,
at all.
exactly. I'm like, never been a huge Chili's fan. I'm not referencing that at all. But then you have to remember, like, okay, that's just their frame of reference for rock music. They're
They
like,
think,
this sounds
you're not a
like,
conventional singer. He's
Yeah.
not a conventional singer. Oh, there's like bass and drum breakdowns. Oh, they have bass and drum breakdowns. Like, it's that simple.
Exactly. And then I remember in Wax Romantics, people would throw out Coldplay sometimes.
Which is like the biggest insult
Yeah.
I think that you can give a musician.
Yeah. Someone was like, oh, yeah, it reminds me of Coldplay. And I was like, I have to rethink this entire thing. But then I remember, like, yeah, it's some old loser who doesn't listen to music.
Right.
So it's very cool. Not that we are obviously trying to copy anybody, but it is cool for people to hone in on the things that you're referencing. It's like, oh, yeah, we're doing it well.
100%. And I think
And the fact that, like, Bored with the Melody, the same track, someone can be like, that is Octung Baby and that is Primus Brown album. That's pretty cool.
that is cool. And I
Yeah.
also think that it does, you know, it has all of those characteristics where people would think, oh, yeah, you guys were influenced by this, you guys are influenced by that. But at the end of the day, it still sounds like a Kadzo track.
Definitely. It
Like, at
sounds
the end
more
of the
like
day,
a Kadzo track than anything else we've done.
You could put it next to Boy on the Outside, and you would still be like, oh, yeah, this is the same band. You could put it next to, like, Masquerade or Larimer Street, and it would still be like, oh, yeah, this is the same band. Clearly, they, like, have more, they're thinking about more this time around, but they are still in the same universe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, we didn't know what we were going to talk about this episode. It's easy to talk about ourselves.
Yep, 100%.
And we've done that for a while now. I guess, well, maybe let's save talking about the video for a different
I think that'll
episode.
probably be
we'll do
almost
a
a full
little,
show to
yeah, we'll do a little
itself.
spiel about the process of recording a video. But yeah, we have recorded a video, obviously, for Bored with the Melody. Go check it out if you haven't yet. Hopefully by the time this episode comes out, you have.
I think there's lots of different little stories to be told there.
Definitely. Let's take a quick break. I'm going to excuse myself for the little boys' room.
Let me know if you see any little boys in there.
Okay, we're back.
Welcome back. How was
Welcome
the
back.
little boys' room?
That was nice. I feel relieved.
Good.
So let's we've talked about Kadzo enough. Should we talk about some new music? Should we talk about some other stuff going on in our lives? Should we talk about political stuff? What do you want to talk about?
What kind of political stuff?
Well, I guess to kind of timestamp this, we're recording this in the fallout of the Charlie Kirk assassination.
I wasn't sure if we wanted to mention that.
I don't know. We don't. Let's not go too deep into it because
No.
by the time this comes out,
It'll
it's gonna
be
be.
old news.
I just don't know how to talk about it.
That's the thing, is you don't even know what you can say without risking weird potential backlash from God knows who.
Yeah.
Like, if you come out and seem like you are supportive of Charlie Kirk or his message in any way, then you get, like, extreme hate from the left. But if you say anything about how maybe his killing was justified by his own rhetoric, then you get extreme hate from the right. And a lot of people are, like, losing their jobs because of things that people think that they're trying to say, whether or not that's actually what they're trying to say or not. So it's a hard thing to navigate, especially, right now,
Yeah.
in the pretty immediate fallout of everything? Not immediate. It's been a week, right? Or something.
Yeah, I suppose just about a week now.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, as far as what it means for the country, I think we're all pretty scared. But I also don't think there's anything that we can say that hasn't already been said by a million other fucking people.
And I'm just exhausted of making sense of anything.
It's exhausting. And again, like, you should be able to feel bad that a dude was killed without that being construed as you're complicit with his messaging.
Yeah, how is it an extreme take to not want anyone to die?
I just don't want people killed
to die. I don't want
in
anyone
front of their
to die.
families.
Yeah.
Like, if he was gonna get killed by political extremists, it should have been not in the middle of Heartland, USA. You know what I mean? Like, that shouldn't be happening in our country, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But the other thing that sucks about it, and again, this take has been said a million times, so it's not a unique take, but there was another shooting tragedy on the exact same day, a few hours apart, that got like no media coverage whatsoever, really. And so that shows me that it doesn't even matter if it's murder anymore. It has to be a specific type of murder for a specific development of one's agenda, or, you know, the ability for them to heighten their rhetoric even more, which is fucking sad. It should just be about people dying, you know? We shouldn't want anyone to die for things that they like say or believe in.
No. Anyways, yeah. And off mic, Julian and I have talked about this a lot. We spent some time over the weekend together when this was still very fresh, and you and I see eye to eye on this. I will say, the day it happened, you put out a story on Instagram and had the best take of anyone I saw. So kudos to you for immediately being pretty level-headed about this.
That story, it's interesting to me how social media works, and, you know, how much of it is algorithm-based or whatever. Or not, I don't even know if algorithm-based is the right terminology for it.
Relevancy.
But relevancy-based, like that story. Most of the time, my stories that I post, I'll get anywhere from like 60 to 100 people that see them. This one, it was like almost 300 people saw that story, and like almost 50 people engaged with it, whether it was like liking it, replying to me, re-sharing it, or whatever, screen grabbing it.
Did you get any hate or pushback on it?
No, not a single person.
That's good.
Not a single person said anything bad, you know? The only thing that I kind of got that wasn't even necessarily like pushbacky or anything, but just people obviously commenting, maybe not obviously, but to me it was obvious, people commenting on the whole Gaza thing and being like, oh, well, Charlie Kirk was pro-Israel, so fuck him. Like, and how dare you call out the hypocrisy of him dying, getting shot and killed, but you don't talk about all the Gazan children getting shot and killed and starved to death, which I get. You know, I don't go on Instagram every day and use my platform to be like, fuck Israel, which maybe I should do that. But at the end of the day, I do think most people do agree. Again, it's the same thing we always wind up saying with mass political disputes, is like the vast majority of the people agree on what we all want as a society. It's just like how we get there that kind of differs from person to person. But like I don't think anyone is in their right mind if they agree with the fact that politically motivated violence should be like celebrated in any way. Like, if you agree with that, you're fucked. Like, I don't know, with Republicans, like, Paul Pelosi got attacked with a fucking hammer, and Republicans were like, let's go, like, fuck Paul Pelosi. But then, yeah, Charlie Kirk gets fucking domed in the neck, and people are like, we should not tolerate any form of, like, celebration or even, like, commentary on this that isn't just mournful.
Well, the most
I don't know.
disgraceful, disturbing hypocrisy from the right wing on this is that a Minnesotan senator and her husband were recently murdered in cold blood on their doorstep. And not only were the right, you know, pretty neutral about that, but certain senators, U.S. senators were celebrating that.
Yeah.
Online.
And saying it was deserved, that, it's what they get for having extreme hateful rhetoric.
Utah senator, the state that Charlie Kirk was killed in, Mike Lee, the senator from Utah, retweeted the doorbell camera images from that senator getting killed and said, "Nightmare on Walls Street," because Tim Walz is the senator from Minnesota. The fact that was allowed, that guy isn't immediately stripped of his senatorship and stoned in the streets, is truly disturbing. So, yeah, it's easy. That's why I don't want to talk about it, because it's so obvious why this is so disgusting. Everything that's happening around this is so disgusting. Anyways,
I mean, it sucks. Okay, so like nobody really wants to talk about it, but it's also one of those things where like we would almost be we would seem ignorant and stupid and duplicitous with the violence in the world if we didn't like say at least something about it, in my opinion at least. Like, a thing that happens with like, and this isn't all of them, but it is a good chunk of the far right influencers. They use this extreme rhetoric in an effort to divide people further, right among left, rich among poor, whatever it might be, religious against non-religious. They use their rhetoric to purposely try and divide the people even further amongst each other. But then when bad things happen as a result of that rhetoric, they almost turn like a complete blind eye to it and don't respond to it, don't react to it, don't claim any responsibility for it. Like the fucking Theo Von podcast, I don't know if you saw, they put out like a 17-minute clip of Theo Von just rambling about Charlie Kirk.
Clear of Theo Von.
It's just, I think the episode title, it's not an episode, it's a segment. It's just called Thinking About Charlie Kirk. And it's just Theo Von for like 17 minutes just literally rambling and being like, man, this just sucks. Like, this world is so tough where like we really think that if you don't agree with someone's opinions that we have to like kill them or like strip their rights to live like as human beings. But it's like your
people
rhetoric,
don't think
your
that.
rhetoric, but also the rhetoric of like
one
far right
one person in
extremists.
300 million thought that and acted on it.
Right.
And they're gonna saying, "Oh, we think that," is dangerous rhetoric in and of itself. We don't think that.
No.
It's lunatics that think that.
But his rhetoric, people like him and the way that they were so divisive through the whole campaign cycle played directly into this, where they were literally saying things like, oh, the liberal elites, they fucking hate you. They wish you were dead. Like, they don't care about your right to live. They don't care about your constitutional rights. Like, making people so vehemently afraid of any possible political outlier in their world. Like, it leads directly to people having extreme reactions to it. Like, and then you can't just pretend that you played no role in that whatsoever.
No, yeah.
Like,
well, that's the most radical thing you can do, whether you're on the right, the left of the situation or neutral, is find common ground with the other side. It's more obvious than ever that we're purposefully being divided on this issue and a billion other issues. They want the country divided. If you want to stick it to the libs, if you want to stick it to the deep state, if you want to stick it to the right, if you want to stick it to the extremists, then find common ground. Don't turn this into another element of the culture war. That's what everyone wants. The machine is fueled off of this fake, artificial culture war that just never ends, that there's never any meaning from, that nothing ever reaches a resolution. So that's, I think, the only right take to have on Charlie Kirk, and the only right action to have is to say it's a shame no matter which way you look at it, and to find some sort of common ground with the other side that we can build off of.
And acknowledge, I think it has to be said that in some way or another, the extreme right and the extreme left both have to own up to the fact that their heightened rhetoric over a course of years now has led to nothing but extreme polarization and has damaged the political constituency more than it's helped it in every way. Like, the reason why people have such an issue with the liberal elite is because they feel like the liberal elite talks down on them like they're fucking idiots and poor, undereducated, filthy fucks, which is true. The liberal elite does do that. And instead of realizing, oh, hey, we're alienating our own voter base by taking this approach, they double down on it every time. Oh, maybe if we just got a little bit more hoity-toity, maybe if we just got a little bit more preachy about race or fucking DEI or whatever the fuck it might be, then people will start coming back around. They don't realize they're alienating their own constituency. And it's the same exact thing on the far right. So many people on the far right don't want a fucking genocide in Gaza. They don't want a war in Ukraine. Like, they don't even necessarily want billionaires to be getting tax breaks. And all of that shit is shit that the far right is, like, living on the hill and dying by. Like, no one understands that they're just consistently voting against their own interests and that the rhetoric is just further polarizing them from a middle that they all once thought they wanted.
And that's why we're divided. It's because, hey, if we create such a divide between the two sides where voting on anything rational makes it seem like you're siding with the other side that you hate so much, then you'll go the extreme route to not be grouped in with that other side.
And it's, I mean, in my opinion, at the very simplest, it's a distraction technique. The longer that we are fighting each other as the Commonwealth, the more the government can go behind our backs and do whatever they actually want to be doing.
Can wait out this Epstein storm.
Right, which I almost hate to even go there because it starts to become conspiracy at that point, but like, obviously the whole Charlie Kirk thing happened.
I'm not saying
this.
Trump is responsible for Charlie
I'm not
Kirk,
trying
but
to necessarily
he's
go
very
there
clearly
either.
benefiting from it.
Exactly. It's a thing that the media cycle falls for every time, where it's like, if we just have this one crazy story, then everything else that is relevant at the time just completely falls off the radar. And it has happened with this Trump administration so many times that it almost seems really hard to believe it's a coincidence every time.
Yeah. The fact that he's been skating by this long. A month ago, it looked like he was going to be impeached, honestly.
Yeah.
The biggest MAGA supporters were finally starting to wake up. And the culture war has been reignited enough to where they brush it aside. It's back to you versus me, us versus them. So, anyways.
What?
This is what's dangerous about on podcadzo. Let's get a little political. You and I see eye to eye. And we're good at firing each other up.
Which I think, like, you know, a lot of the time people say it's better to have conversations, spirited debates with people that you disagree with and people that you can, like, maybe change their mind or they can change your mind a little bit. I personally, I don't know about you, that happens to me less and less now, more than it ever did before. Like 10 years ago, when I was first getting into voting and it was like still a new and exciting thing, it was like there was always at least a couple other people where it's like we agreed on almost everything and we agreed on how to get there. And now it's like even people where I feel like I see eye to eye with them on most things, it's like the way that we want to get to places is still completely different. Or there's like one crucial piece of information where it's like, yeah, I'm pro-centralized government, I'm pro-education, I'm pro-infrastructure. Oh, I'm super anti-vaccine though. And it's like, it just gets so hard to really
there's stuff like that.
Find people
like, how are we going to get past that? I'm kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum. It's because back in the day, like when I first started voting, I was such like an impassioned kind of radical douchebag about a lot of things and was like looking to be controversial and to disagree with people, but what's the only thing keeping me sane and the only thing that's like refreshing to me is I have been able to talk to people who are more right leaning in the recent past and have like good conversations with them and reach a common ground. And that's not because the political world is improving, but that's just because I've like changed enough as a person and kind of matured.
Well, and I think that that's all very well said, and I would agree with that as like a premise. I've definitely gotten more agreeable with time. I just feel like the political spectrum has gotten so much broader over time that now it's like any two people's fundamental issues are not aligned. Whereas like 10 years ago, I think a lot of people had the same like fundamental issues where it was like, this is what matters to me. This is what I want to see change. Now it's like, to me, it feels like no two people have that, where it's like, I want better healthcare. I want better education. And I could run into like 10 other left-leaning progressives who are like, oh, our education's fine. Like, I'm worried about Gaza. I'm worried about fucking COVID vaccines. Like, whatever it might be. Like, people's worldview is so much more like conflated with bullshit now than it used to be, to where it's like harder for people to agree on like a common consensus of like any kind, really. So when you wind up being in the same room with someone who, like, I'm not going to say we agree on every single thing. I'm sure if we talked long enough, there'd be like one thing where it's like, maybe we don't agree, but also I do find that kind of hard to believe too. I think we would agree on like 99% of things. And that's pretty refreshing in this day and age, to find someone where it's like, okay, I'm not crazy. Like, the way that I think the world should work, at least one other person kind of feels that way too. So like, I'm not completely fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Gives me more hope. And it also, I think, I don't know, it gives me a sense of like urgency for our generation to really start doing some shit now. Like, it's our generation's time to like step up to the plate and become the new thought leaders of the future, because like our parents are getting too old and our
what
grandparents
we have now
are dead.
ain't working.
No.
Yeah.
Well, and the people 10 years younger than us, generally speaking, are like pretty radicalized in a whole litany of different ways. And like,
Yeah.
I think they have a lot of learning and absorbing to do before they should be like the new thought leaders of the world. And our generation is pretty pragmatic, pretty progressive, but I think a lot of us are also like very disillusioned by the left, very disillusioned by political parties in general, even to a certain extent very disillusioned by the federal government, and like we need serious reform to really
I don't
fully.
identify with anything on the left outside of Bernie at this point.
Right, and you know, the whole reason why Bernie always says he runs as independent is because he doesn't fuck with the liberal elite. And I don't think anybody fucks with the liberal elite.
And the liberal elite don't fuck with Bernie,
No.
which is the biggest hypocrisy in the liberal elite, and the biggest shame of it all is that if we all realized that Bernie could have been our savior and our path forward back in 2016, the world would be a lot different.
Well, that's the other thing, is a lot of extreme right-wingers still somehow fully align themselves with what Bernie's trying to do.
Oh, for sure.
He transcends.
He does. He transcends
identity
his party. Bernie
politics.
could very well be, and it's ironic because he's older than anybody in the political sphere right now. But yeah, he could be the path forward. He could be the guy to unite us, and that's refreshing to see. And it goes back to my point, like what us as left-leaning people are seeing online from the right are the worst, most hateful people on the right, which makes us think that the right have a lot of hate in their hearts, that they're evil people, that they have an evil agenda. But if you talk to any right-leaning person out there in your immediate life, a normal person who's not terminally online, you're going to find that the reason they think that way is just because they think that's the best way to find peace and harmony in their own lives with their own family. It's not because they hate people and want to see people die. It's, you know, they just happen to think that's the best way to achieve their vision of peace and love.
100%. And, you know, to boil it down even more than that, I think a huge part of it is religion. Like,
Yeah, definitely.
a big part of, especially younger far right, and not even far right, but even moderate right wingers, is that their party still affiliates with, in some form or another, Christianity or just God, spirituality in general. And the left, like, really completely abandoned that. Like,
not only abandoned it, but adopted the rhetoric that if you're religious, you're an idiot.
You're a
And
dummy.
we're pretentious coastal elite atheists who, like Bill Maher's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Bill Maher has a lot to answer for. I think a piece of the common ground we could find as left and right people is that Bill Maher
is insufferable.
is insufferable and an enemy to the U.S. But yeah, like he was kind of the prototype for like what a educated coastal elite liberal anti-religion guy is supposed to look like. And he went to the poorest, least educated parts of America where people lean on the Bible and religion for obvious reasons, and I think they should. I think it's a good thing often to do that, unless you get into a little echo chamber where religion kind of preaches hate, which can happen. But that's not
Largely
necessarily
speaking, that's not what does happen, though.
exactly.
But
And
that's the way it's portrayed.
that's not the fault of the people involved in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he went to those areas of the country and just, made them seem like
Pointed
fools.
and laughed. Yeah, you're a fucking idiot.
And so, and the left continually adopted that point of view, and religion, rightfully so, is very important for a lot of people. So it's like, oh yeah, the only option is becoming right, because if I'm left, then I'm like literally going against everything I believe in.
And God
literally like
is
the Antichrist.
the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do think the left, the extreme left, the liberal elites, as we've been calling them, lost sight with their constituency and what matters to their constituency so long ago. They have no hope of getting it back at this point. What we need is political party reform on every level. We need at least two new political parties that are actually reflective of where the majority of the country's at. Because, again, and I'm going out on a limb here because it's harder now with identity politics being such a huge thing, but like not most, but a fair chunk of people that voted Republican this last time around aren't like diehard MAGA. They just identify more with Republican policies than
and
with
we've been
liberal
so
ones.
thoroughly divided that
And
going
the liberals
left
have also
is,
adopted the rhetoric of if you vote right, then you are just the most MAGA, pro Donald Trump, fucking identity politic motherfucker of all time. But like, again, that's not really true. I mean, think about it from the left. I know so many Democrats and liberals that did not want to vote for Kamala. They had a million other different ideas that would have been better than that. But you saw your pride. You vote for the lesser of two evils. Nobody on the right really ever assumes, oh, you voted for Kamala, you're the most pro-Kamala person of all time. They just assume, oh, you voted for her because she's all you had.
With,
And we never
and
do
by
that
point,
on the right
you
side.
can't write in Bernie and feel okay about that, like I did the two elections before. But yeah, man, it's and back to Bernie, back to your point about two political parties. I do think Bernie is that guy for the left. I don't know who that person is for the right. I could be so off base here. I think this might sound crazy to say. I'm not the most educated political guy out there, but I think back in the last election cycle, Mitt Romney could have been that dude for the right, who was, at least speaking a little bit of truth to power, at least coming from a more level-headed,
I wish that was true, but I think that, and this kind of directly contradicts what I just said, but so much of right-wing politics, especially for that campaign cycle, involved the premise of like, well, if you've ever shit-talked Donald Trump, then I hate you. Mm-hmm. And Mitt Romney definitely did a lot of shit-talking against Donald Trump. Well, that's what I'm saying.
He should have been the savior, the guy that they could have built a new right party off of.
I just don't, I don't know if his rhetoric ever got spicy enough to where people would have liked that. Yeah. He was always too like...
I don't know if Bernie's on the other... Was Bernie ever talking mad shit about Hillary or Joe or Kamala?
Just not specific people, just calling out the establishment in general, which was enough to threaten the establishment into blackballing him, I feel like.
Yeah.
Calling out the very institution that you and promising complete reform on the things that you. I don't want to say Bernie was piggybacking off of liberals, but he literally needed the power of the Democratic Party, the outreach of the Democratic Party to like really platform himself as a serious
and they were just never going to give it to him.
They were never going to give it to him to begin with, and the fact that he challenged that, even I think knowing pretty much the whole time how it was going to go, was what pissed off the Democratic establishment so much for him, to where, now he'll never have a chance now,
Yeah. All I know is I went to the Bernie rally in Denver back in April, which feels like a lifetime ago at this point, and it was the most hopeful I've felt in a long time. Because there were people speaking there that were right-wing conservative union leaders who were putting their support behind Bernie, who were admitting how fucked up things were. And it was a real show of unity, a real show of common sense amongst the public that is rare to see nowadays.
Yeah. Well, and, I think it was on the Andrew Schultz podcast a couple months ago, Bernie was on it.
Fuck that guy.
I hate Andrew Schultz. I generally never listen to anything he does, but it was Bernie, so I was like, I'm going to check this out. And, Andrew Schultz does say something towards the beginning of the podcast along the lines of like, well, if Democrats are losing like labor unions, then that's how they should know that they're fucked. Because, again, the only person who's really consistently brought about workers' quality of life or raising the minimum wage or, anything that guarantees workers' rights, the only person who's been doing that is Bernie. Trump said, oh, we're going to do tax on tips, no tax on tips. That's going to be a big thing for workers.
Yeah, and so
but that's it.
People think he's the working man's hero because he's not taxing tips, he's not taxing overtime.
That's like also like the only, I don't know, that's the only that's like, oh man, I don't even know how to say what I'm trying to say. Like the only thing that for the longest time that the Democratic left stood for was like workers' rights and like making healthier, safer workspaces, higher wages, more ways to battle the cost of living and all those things. And Bernie taking what in my opinion was like a pragmatic approach, but to what most people was like an extremely radical approach, like turned the left off from that rhetoric like completely, because they realized like, oh, we're not doing anything for workers. And Trump never, he claimed that he was good for the workforce or whatever, but he never like had specific references or like was able to say, oh, I did this and I did this and I did this. And he never gave a shit to begin with. And like,
yeah. And I'll say, outside of the very obvious bad actors that are in the U.S. government right now, corporate America has everything to do with the downfall of American society. And especially on the left side, is that the left, as much as the right benefits corporate America in terms of giving CEOs and the ultra-rich tax cuts, the left became the political party of corporate America. And that's when they started to lose the interests of the working man, the interests of equality and equity amongst us. And most of that just has to do with the gender and social side of politics. That corporate America, if you don't artificially support whatever the latest gender or social campaign is as a corporation, you're going to lose money because people are going to protest you. And so that's why corporate America started aligning itself with the left, and that's why the left completely lost the plot, is because they were in their pocket then. They were in corporate America's pocket. And corporate America, outside of our socio-economic, political landscape in the U.S. being destroyed, corporate America, I think, has destroyed every other aspect of American life. everything is so ubiquitous. It's the only culture that exists in the U.S. anymore is corporate culture. I'm leaving corporate America for a lot of reasons. The biggest reason is just because I don't feel right about being involved in that anymore. And the mental exhaustion from constantly having to validate my role in everything. To be clear, I'm not saying like if you work for a corporation, you're a bad person. There's not a lot of options for a lot of people, and it's a good job. But for me personally, I'm disgusted with what it's done to America and American lives.
Yeah, the people that have no choice but to work for a large corporation, I never think that they should feel judged for the position that they're in. But the corporations, it's a hard place to be because we're just regular people. But the corporations that know that they can continually neglect, abuse, loophole their workforce, they're going to do it until there's an uprising of some kind, until the workforce at large literally says, fuck this, I'm out. Mm-hmm. And again, an important thing we have to consider is a lot of people that wanted Trump in office, their mentality towards the whole thing was just burn it all down. You know, fuck it all. Just start over from scratch. Let the institution burn. But when you do that, you have like hungry children, hungry mothers, like single moms, people without any families who are putting themselves through school. Like,
and the people
they're
who
the
think
first
that
people
way,
that take a hit from a fallout like that.
And the people who think that way have never built shit in their lives.
No.
They're not going to be the people to guide a new government.
No. When the world is burning, they're going to be on their private yachts in unlisted territory just waiting it all out.
America, we had a great thing going up until 1970. Ronald Reagan has a lot to answer for
100%.
with how things are nowadays. But in 1970, the working man was the ideal form of capitalism was kind of realized then. And it wasn't the capitalism that we understand now had similarities to socialism, but the working man was really supported then. Mm-hmm. And Ronald Reagan introduced trickle-down economics. He introduced sort of self-interest within business, and that's when things started to fall apart. And I do have pride for America. I do feel proud to be an American in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to abandon this country or what it stands for.
Look, I feel more, and not in like, I don't feel more patriotic now than ever in the sense that I like love America now more than ever, but I believe in individual liberties and individual freedoms more now than I ever have.
Yeah, same.
You know, 10 years ago, I was one of those far lefties who was like, nobody should have a gun. Nobody should do this, and this thing that I don't like. But now I'm literally like, I think of myself, I hate to say it out loud, I think of myself as like a libertarian in a lot of ways, where it's literally like, I don't think the government should tell anyone how to do anything. Like, you want to own fucking 10,000 guns? Do it, brother. You want to start your own church that is a far left or far right, like cultist, anti-Satan, God-fearing religion, like fucking do it, brother. I don't give a shit. Do literally whatever you want. Just don't impinge on someone else's right to do whatever the fuck they want. It's that simple, you know? Like, someone wants to go have a transgender surgery and, you know, fucking become a woman or a man, like, do that shit all day, every day. I literally do not fucking care. No one should care. The only things that we should care about are like, is there food on the table for everybody in this country? Are there starving children in the streets? Is there like a drug crisis that is being perpetuated by Big Pharma that the government refuses to stop? Like, the answer to all those things is yes. That's what we should be focusing on. We shouldn't be focusing on like, oh, this person wants to chop their dick off. Oh, this person wants to like buy 1 million guns. Like, none of that should fucking matter at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, clearly clearly the meaning of life should be to do what you want, to love one another, to support your community. And government should not get in the way of that, but also government should be there to support that mission.
Mm-hmm.
And
It should be there as a tool to support its citizens and
Yeah.
not as a overarching scary umbrella of control.
And that's what it was intended for. That's what the American government was intended for in its purest form when we first founded this nation. So, and the fact that the right wing and Trump has usurped the American flag and what it means to be a patriot is so disgusting, because they're so clearly against everything that America stands for. And that, again, what's making us divided is that now to say that you love this country, that you're a patriot, is to say, oh, I'm MAGA, and I agree with the right. So, again, it goes back to our point of finding the common ground, loving one another, not letting us be divided by very clear tactics within big government, within the media. And that's what podcadzo stands for. That's what Julian and I stand for.
Yep, that's why we're here.
That's why we're here.
Fighting the good fight.
Indeed. I feel thoroughly warmed up after this one. I feel ready to get back into podcadzo.
All right.
So I guess we'll wrap it up here.
Sure.
We didn't talk about new music, but that's okay, because it was going to get tricky to talk about new music. We're not sure when this is going to come out, so the stuff we were going to talk about wouldn't be new by the time
It's
we talked
still
about
stuff
it.
I'm going to talk about, though.
Yeah, we'll bring it up at some point in the episode. In an episode. So, right on.
Right on.
It's great to be back in the saddle, brother.
Absolutely.
This felt very nice.
Absolutely. Much needed.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, well, I guess kind of what we opened up this pod by doing. I don't know how much of it's actually going to make the episode. I hope not much. But we opened up by
Drinking lots of liquor.
drinking liquor and also game planning on what the future of this should look like. And I honestly do maintain no one will care necessarily what the individual components of the podcast are, as long as the conversation is enlightened and spirited and not hateful. And I think we always excel in that territory.
Indeed.
So.
Indeed. And the only purpose of making it more structured is just so we can get into that a little bit easier.
Oh, 100%.
So yeah, we'll find our footing here. We'll find. I mean, like I said, probably what's going to happen is we're just going to go back to doing what we like to do, which is this, which is great. So, thanks for riding with us. We love you. Podcadzo forever.
Podcadzo 5 ever.
Have a great night, or day, or morning.
Afternoon.
Have a good commute to work.
Afternoon, governor.
Good walk with the dog. Good
Yes.
gym sesh. We love you. Love one another. Goodbye.
Love one another.
It's podcadzo.